Welcome back. The hashtag is NewsGang at Citizen TV Kenya. We are talking about the events in Tanzania that have now come to the fore and now come to the spotlight following what happened with activists who were ejected from the country. The spotlight on that is now international. Just a quick word on Tundu Lissu now, even as he awaits to see what happens with the trial. But like we're talking about, international spotlight on the country. In fact, his legal team has petitioned the UN Working Group on Arbitrary Detention, accusing the government of fabricating the charges, of denying him his basic human rights by keeping him in detention, violating international law. Whilst it's important to point out that this perhaps does not have what's the word I'm looking for? Influence perhaps in the country, but it has been known, this working group, to bring attention and international pressure to bear on countries, leading to the release of some of those. But look at it, all of this was in fact exactly what President Samia Suluhu was hoping to avoid. Yes, but I think, like you said in the beginning, it perhaps might not have cost much to allow people to go in. Everything that's been happening there, not that it's not been known by the international community, but this just raises the spotlight. But even as we're saying that the opposition in Tanzania, like you said, Linus, unprecedented, being barred from the election, never happened before. There are still some voices in Tanzania that continue to speak out and are speaking out about the abductions, about the torture and the treatment of activists there. There is a man who is now perhaps more well known in Kenya than we ever might have, is MP and Bishop Gwajima. Bishop Josephat Gwajima, who is a member of parliament for Kawe, enters from stage left. So Bishop Josephat Gwajima is, as I said, a member of parliament, but he's also the founder of one of the biggest Pentecostal churches in Tanzania. It's called the Glory of Christ Church, Ufufuo na Uzima. It has over 2,000 branches in Tanzania. Now, as we speak, the government of Mama Samia Suluhu has deregistered that church, and it's been shut down. And because the government says that the summons by Bishop Gwajima have been inciting the public against the state and also threatening national stability. So Bishop Gwajima has actually been speaking for a while from the pulpit. And his sermons have been fiery. He's been outspoken. And one of the main things that he talks about is disappearances. For months, he's been using his altar as a political platform and saying there have been abductions and disappearances of government critics. According to him, more than 80 people have either gone missing or have been found dead. And he talks about how this is a really dark record that Tanzania hasn't seen in decades. I want us to listen to him talking about, he is actually katika chama cha CCM. Anasema CCM sio chama cha watekaji. Let's listen to him.
Mapinduzi ambacho wahasisi wake ni Mwalimu Julius Kambarage Nyerere pamoja na Abeid Aman Karume. Chama hicho hakikubali utekaji. Hakikubali utekaji. Narudia tena, chama hicho, Chama cha Mapinduzi, hakikubali utekaji. Na mimi mpaka sasa ni mwanachama wa Chama cha Mapinduzi. Na CCM sisi si watekaji, na anayeteka watu anateka kwa nia yake yeye mwenyewe. Watu wanapotea sana, na hatujui sasa nani anayefuata kwenye kupotea. Unaweza kunyamaza, kumbe unafuata wewe. Nikatoa orodha ya watu 83 ambao wengine wametekwa hawapatikani kabisa, wengine wametekwa wakapatikana, wengine hawajulikani. Kwa kati ya hao kuna watu ambao wametekwa hawapatikani, na kati ya hao kuna missing persons ambao hawajulikani wamekwenda wapi.
Yvonne, as I said, Bishop Gwajima has been speaking for a while, for months, from the pulpit. And he's really largely gone unnoticed, maybe outside Tanzania. But then suddenly now on Sunday, something happened, and triggered it all, what we keep talking about, handling a situation. The Ministry of Home Affairs revoked the church's registration, as I said, accusing Gwajima of using politically the sermons, kuchochea wananchi dhidi ya serikali. That's the word he used. But then by Sunday evening, the church was shut down. And then thousands of faithful had nowhere to pray, so they were praying on the streets. But then things got worse overnight as armed police sealed off the premises of the church, the one in Dar es Salaam. They fired tear gas. They arrested some defiant worshippers. There were stones that were thrown, tear gas rendered the air. And I think for many of Tanzanians, this was a bit shocking because this is outside a church.
Yeah.
Hapa ni nje ya kanisa. Kwanza tumekatazwa kuabudu. Okay, we're talking about one of the biggest Pentecostal churches in Tanzania, over 2,000 branches. 2, tunapigwa tear gas wakati usiku. A lot of that happened at night when they were still milling around there, having been denied kuendelea na maombi. But then now Bishop Gwajima says, well, ataendelea. In fact, he said they are declaring 7 days of praying in the more than 2,000 branches in the churches. If it's not happening inside, it can happen outside. I think we need to listen to him talking about how he will refuses to be silenced despite what happened.
I, as a Tanzanian, will never swallow that people are abducted and everybody's silenced. Silence means granting access to evil. Silence means comfortable. Silence means go ahead. I refuse to be silenced. I refuse to be silenced. I refuse to be silenced. Shehe wa Zanzibar, baada ya kuwa nimetoa tamko hili, shehe wa Zanzibar alichukuliwa nyumbani kwake Fuoni majira ya jioni, na maiti ikaja kuokotwa njiani, njia ya Kizimbani ya Kinumoshi, eneo la Bumbwi Sud. Huyu Shehe Jabil ni muumini wa msikiti wa Ijumaa wa Marindi, naye ameondoka. Lakini tarehe 23 Machi ameondoka pia mjumbe wa halmashauri kuu ya CCM kule Mwanza, naye ameondoka tarehe 23 Machi, hajapatikana mpaka leo. Kwa hiyo watekaji wanateka mwana CCM, wanateka kiongozi wa dini, wanateka mwananchi wa kawaida.
He speaks about viongozi wa dini. The Secretary General of the Tanzania Catholic Church Episcopal Conference, Father Dr. Charles Kitima, led a Thanksgiving mass, I think a day or two ago, after surviving a brutal attack by a known assailants who left him for dead at his parish in Dar es Salaam last month. So we have all these instances going on, Yvonne. But I think what is now happening, the fact that these voices are being heard more, the fact that these voices are being heard outside Tanzania, the fact that despite the X platform being shut down in Tanzania, people are still able to see the sermons, because I think they uploaded on YouTube, and they're able to hear what he's saying. Imeanza kuamsha attention what exactly has been going on in Tanzania for the past few months. If the numbers he says are true, 83 people being abducted and some turning up dead.
Yeah, what's interesting, Linus, is he's a member of
CCM,
Chama cha Mapinduzi,
the
ruling party of Tanzania. So this is not just a voice from Tanzania that's speaking, it's a voice from the ruling party. That's some interesting courage there.
Yes, and let's put one thing in place here, and that is the fact that CCM, Chama cha Mapinduzi, is unrivaled in the Eastern Africa region when it comes to ideological groundings of the party. It is a party that was founded on very, very strong ideological principles. Remember, it's a combination of two parties. The Tanzanian African National Union, TANU, of the late President Nyerere, and the Afro-Shirazi party of the first president of Zanzibar, the first president of Zanzibar. And they combined this to form, that's Sheikh Karume, to form the CCM, Chama cha Mapinduzi, where the revolution now was what brought the two parties together. So, in terms of the ideological groundings, and I've had the benefit as a report of covering Chama cha Mapinduzi in action, including the powerful Chama cha Mapinduzi Central Committee, CC, which vets the leaders that then become candidates, especially in the presidential race. And it is ideologically a very, very strong party. But now, where Gwajima is coming from is CCM is a party that has faced many, many challenges across history. But this has never been its first approach, where you use state power to beat down your opponents. If you look at history, the founding president himself, Julius Nyerere, had very, very difficult beginnings, especially in 1964, when the military, the Tanzanian army had a mutiny. Basically, they wanted to overthrow the government. He overcame that. He also had the challenge of the trade unions that were very, very powerful, that are also angling for political power. He overcame that without killing anybody and without abducting anybody. And then when it comes to relations with the religious community, remember Tanzania, even right from the 60s and coming this way, has always had a very strong religious base of both Christians and Muslims, split almost 50-50. And Julius Nyerere really insisted on a secular state, a secular country that is not led by religious reasons. But then the policy of Jamaa, that is the socialism policy that he pursued, put him at loggerheads with the church, especially the Catholic Church. And in history, a lot of exchanges have been captured, where Nyerere, who was himself a Catholic, was having very, very rigorous debates with the Catholic Church in Tanzania about especially the Azimio la Arusha, which is the Arusha Declaration of 1967, which put in place the socialism policy. And he had very intellectual arguments with the person who was later to become the top cleric in the Catholic Church. That's Robert Rweyemamu. And again, where Gwajima must be coming from, nobody died. Nobody was. Rweyemamu was a young priest at the time, was not abducted or beaten, like you've mentioned, the current Secretary General, the General Secretary of the Episcopal Conference. So a lot has changed physically in terms of how CCM is approaching its politics. CCM, it must be said, is approaching multi-party politics with a single-party mindset. It's almost as if the rest of the parties should not exist. You look at the bro-beating that has happened even in the National Assembly, where the numbers are just overwhelmingly CCM. Is that the true reflection of multipartyism? I don't think so. So there's comparatively, it must be also admitted, CCM has stronger structures. Stronger in the sense that it starts from the very top all the way to the grassroots, where they have Nyumba Kumi, and you walk in Tanzania, you can see the green flag of CCM in the villages. So it is a grassroots party that has had so many challenges, but it has always approached those challenges more intellectually and win a debate with arguments. And remember, Tanzania has produced some of the finest debaters. Well, Kenyans must have tasted a bit of it last week, just when from the House. And you can imagine, the past has seen some really, really solid CCM leaders. And even the CCM system itself has produced a lot of those leaders. But now, that same system now is turning around to rely a bit too much on state instrument of state security, heavy-handedness. The turning point for anybody who has been following Tanzanian politics is the arbitrariness of last year's abductions. There was a story of Ali Kibao. Ali Kibao was a member of, a top leader of the Chadema party. He was traveling in a bus And then people come in, abduct him. A few days later, his body is found on a roadside in Dar es Salaam. You know, even at a human level, these are things that invite questions. That is CCM doing what CCM used to be? I think, and for President Samia Suluhu, these are very uncomfortable things coming out, especially because in the era of information, you can't have the body of Ali Kibao on the roadside in Dar es Salaam and only Tanzanians get to know. No, it comes out to the international community. It comes out to the community of human beings who ask questions that, is this the right way? And as per the records of one of the human rights groups, about 63 people were abducted last year alone. So this is not a good trend for Chama cha Mapinduzi, which is the ruling party. And this has never been the approach that it took previously. Chama cha Mapinduzi used to win very, very tough discussions. And when it came to wars and using physical force, they actually won another big war, and that was the Kagera War with President, the dictator Idi Amin, which again is something that is admirable. But when it comes to disappearing local opponents, some who are actually officially the opposition. So when you're in the opposition party, it means you're actually disagreeing with the other party. And I don't think you should die for that. I don't think Ali Kibao should have died. I think for a lot of people, some of those things were, you know, state agencies or groups that are definitely acting with the approval of the state, cause physical disappearance of humans for political reasons. And I think that is what is producing the likes of Gwajima, who is saying, no, we've never done this before. And yes, you look through history, no, this is not how CCM did it.
Could Gwajima be part of what is a turning point in Tanzania? As we close, I'd like us to listen to this rather defiant tone from him.
Kwenye hili swala, sitayumba, sitabadilika, sitapunguza msimamo, tasimama nalo.